Hello, I think we should be live or near enough live. I'm just going to check. Welcome, if you've already arrived, to Caroline and my introduction to poetry, conquering poetry comprehension.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're just going to wait like one more minute before we start. So maybe we can introduce ourselves. Hi, my name's Caroline Goodman and I run Bright Prospects Tutoring. And together with Nicola, we also run a group called Perfecting Primary English to help children and parents with all the demands of the English curriculum from about year 2 upwards, including private school entrance exams. And we're really delighted both to be admins on the 11 Plus Journey group.
Thank you, Caroline. Hello, my name's Nicola. You've probably seen me around and abouts before. I do the masterclass home tutoring verbal reasoning, which is issued every so often on a Thursday. Caroline and I have worked together since about 2008, so quite a long time now. And together now we are working together as Perfecting Primary English. And again, thanks from me as well to Saba for giving us the platform to share a little of what we know to help you in your 11 Plus journey. And I just want to stress, this is very much our point of view. This is very much Caroline and my take on poetry. And it's not necessarily the only approach to poetry as well. So welcome, we hope you enjoy. If you have your own poem, have that ready as well, because you will need it. And hopefully you've also managed to download the sheet that Caroline kindly made and posted on Thursday of this week.
And if you haven't got a poem with you today, don't worry at all. This lesson is complete in itself with all the things we're going to talk to you about. So if you've only just joined the group today, welcome, and yes, just enjoy it anyway as it is. Okay, so let's begin then. Today we're going to be looking at a poetry comprehension based on the poem An Ode to Autumn by John Keats. And we're just going to be looking at stanza 1. It's quite a long poem and it's quite detailed, it's quite a challenging poem. And we hope that today we're going to break down some of the barriers that you might have when you approach quite a difficult poem that might happen. It's quite possible in an exam situation. So we hope that we're going to give you some tools to unlock some of the challenges you might face. So our learning outcomes are to identify and explain the ingredients used in poetry, that's general things, and to use these specific skills to respond to comprehension questions.
Thank you, Caroline. Right, let's move on. So this session is not all about the poem the exam you plan to take. What we're hoping is that you will foster a newfound appreciation for poetry and also be aware of what to look for when you read something that's unseen. So let's take a look. So things to consider when you read a poem is to whether a poem has rhythm. Is the first one that we want to look at. And this is really the beat and the pace of the poem. Then we have the flow, which works very closely with the rhythm to enhance the reader experience. And then we have sound. What kind of things can you hear, or what does the poem make you think you can hear? So it helps the reader hear the poem. And when you add all these things together, all of these things bring the poem to life using your senses. So that's the very, very top level of it. Now, think of those as the purple elements of the poem. That's probably going to be really, really helpful for you as well. Then we take on meaning. That's the next level. So these are red level. The meaning delivers the poet's message. So what was the message the poet wanted to deliver to you? What is it all about? And then we have feelings, because when we read something, we often react to it, and that's the feelings that we get. So it helps the reader maybe to empathize. It might make the reader feel angry. It might feel them a little bit sad or joyful. And when we put those together, It evokes emotions and gives context. So it really does help you understand what is going on. And then finally, our last layer, which is our green layer, is shape. And sometimes poems are shaped like the thing it describes. I've read poems before about trees, and the poem is written in the shape of the trees. So it really does help give us more understanding of what's going on. So when you see a poem, any poem, and even take a look at your own poem now and think about the rhythm, flow, and sound on the top level, then look at the meaning and the feelings, and then also consider if it's got a shape, and that will help you pick out ingredients for the poem and give you a better understanding of what it is you're reading. Now, one thing to mention.
Yeah, I just want to say that's okay. We've just had quite a few more people join us in the last sort of few minutes. If you've just joined us, welcome. We're just going through right now, Nicola's going through the general ingredients that we look at in different poems to help us understand any poem. So if you've just joined us, don't worry, you haven't missed out on too much.
Thank you. We'll give you a few seconds to look at that page. We looked at what we feel are the key ingredients in a poem. Rhythm, flow, and sound brings the poem to life using senses. The meaning and feelings evokes emotions and gives context. And then we have shape, which adds to the meaning. Right, let's move on. Now, one thing to really understand is that these can blend in with each other. And then we've got to consider what happens and what's the impact of that. So I've taken something from the purple line and I've added it to the red line. And sometimes the flow of a poem will evoke feelings and emotions as well. So they can interact really, really well together. We're going to put meaning up to the top row. And rhythm, meaning, and sound can bring the poem to life in a slightly different way for you. So don't feel that these all interact independently of each other. They blend together and give us a very, very broad overview of what's going on. Shape, along with meaning, we have now a green, a red, and a purple working together to bring the poem to life in a slightly different way. So make sure you consider all of these elements and how they work for the poem that you are looking at.
Yes, I think Nicola's done a huge amount of work to make sure that this all really flows and shows you how each of these elements interlink. And we really hope this is going to help you have a general overview of any poem. Remember, these are skills we're trying to teach you for any poem so that you can make it more easy to understand generally when you're approaching something. And obviously, we're going to look at some questions in more detail in a minute, how these things interrelate when you come to answering comprehension.
Absolutely. And the key thing for me is poetry is it is artistry. And when you look at a painting, for example, if I look at a painting, I see one thing. And if Caroline looks at a painting, she sees something else. I might love it and she might really dislike it. So poetry is very personal as well. And there are certain poems I pick up and I think, it's not for me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't flow for me. I don't know what the poet was trying to say. Would you agree, Caroline?
I think, yes. I mean, I always find that if I ask a student, do you like this? As long as I don't mind if they say no, as long as they can give me a reason why. You know, we can all have our own opinions as long as we're respectful and can justify our answers. So I think that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're sitting down to your 11+ exam and you are presented with a poem that you haven't seen before, just consider these elements as well. And even if you like or dislike the poem, this is a good way of breaking it down and further analysing it, particularly when you're under time pressure. And there we go, rhythms drop down there to add to the meaning as well. And I read a poem and I can't remember the name of it, Caroline, I don't know if you can, where you get the galloping sound of the horses. I think it might be a poem about
the highwaymen.
The highwaymen.
Yes.
And as you read through, absolutely. So the pace of the highwaymen really encourages you to think of galloping horses. So the rhythm of the poem can really add to the meaning. So if you've got any questions about any of what we're talking about, please do reach out into the chat, into the comments, and we can answer them. If we can't answer them now and we don't get to you now, we will certainly look back after the session is finished and make every effort to answer them. So don't feel that if your question's gone unanswered, that we won't be answering it. We will endeavour to do that.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's move on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read this poem that we're focusing on today, An Ode to Autumn by John Keats. It's a very famous poem and, in my opinion, you may disagree, a very beautiful poem. Okay, so An Ode to Autumn by John Keats, stanza 1. Seasons of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells, with a sweet kernel to set budding more, and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. Now, I'd be really interested to know what you all think of this poem, because I'll be honest with you, some of the things, when I first read this, I was like, what? Some of it I understand, and some of it, Nicola and I have spent a long time really digging deeper into this, haven't we, Nicola? So we're going to have a look in a minute about some general questions to help us understand the poem.
Okay, let's bring our elements up again and let's think about our elements in relation to this poem, because that's what you've got to do in exam. So think, my purple layer, my sound, my senses, my red layer, my emotions and my feelings, and then the shape to see if it adds a little bit more to the meaning of the poem. So let's look at the rhythm of An Ode to Autumn by John Keats. Did you notice anything? What is it that you've picked up? Now, what Caroline and I extracted, which is what we've got to do, pick things out, is rhyming words on alternate lines slow the pace of the poem down. And I think you'll find when Caroline was reading the poem, she was very laid back, she was very mellow. It was almost like she was walking through a forest.
I tried my best. I tried to sound, chilled out.
It came across. Well done, Caroline.
Thanks. It took some practicing this, didn't it? You see, even as teachers, just because we're teachers doesn't mean that we immediately get everything. You know, we all have to dig deeper and try and understand things for ourselves. So that's okay. Okay, so then we're going to look at the flow. So we notice that, as we were just saying, it's quite a laid back kind of atmosphere that this poem is conveying. And because the lines are written almost as if they go over two lines, the sentences flow like that over two lines, it makes us relax and it slows down the rhythm and the pace of the poem.
Right, I've got a question for you now. What can you hear? So just let us know in the comments what you heard as Caroline was reading the poem.
We've got here rhyming words. Quite a few people have said they find it challenging. So thank you for that. It is a challenge. Click, somebody said. Not sure what that meant. The voice, they feel like they can hear the voice of autumn. Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, nice. Oh, how beautiful.
Very, very beautiful. And I'm glad you said that, because we're going to talk about personifying the season in this, the personification of it a bit later. I rather like this flowy poem. Makes you feel you're actually there. I like that. I agree with you, Anna. Some people think they can hear the wind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not mentioned particularly, is it? But this is where poetry is personal, and what you hear isn't necessarily what somebody else will hear. But if you can back up the reasons for saying that you can hear the wind, and you can find something within the poem to support that, that's absolutely fine. That's really, really fine. I mean, we've got the bees here as well. So we are hearing the buzzing. We also take our own experience of autumn, don't we? And the crackling leaves and the wind. And I think that comes into it as well.
Yep, some people here have written the leaves. That's a bit like you were saying. People feel that they are actually, there's so many comments, I can't actually keep up with it. So thank you very much, everybody. But people feel that it's making them feel relaxed, like they're actually there, which is great. And actually, that's what a good writer does, isn't it? It doesn't matter what kind of writing, you can actually imagine yourself in the scene.
Yeah, okay, it immerses us. It immerses us, doesn't it? Right. Okay. Meaning.
So meaning is, we had a long discussion about this, but we felt originally, well, I don't know what you think, but when we first read this poem, we thought it was only about autumn. And then we realized actually it's not just autumn, it's that transition from summer over to autumn. In this stanza, we're talking how the weather starts to change, and we're going to be looking, I won't go into it too much now, but we're going to be looking at how that transition happens slowly during this stanza. And stanza, by the way, is like a verse of a poem. You might have a verse in a song, but it's kind of one section or a paragraph, if you like, in a poem.
Yeah, this is actually quite a long poem, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why we've only concentrated on one stanza.
Absolutely.
And someone says here they can taste the fruit. Yes, I think that's beautiful.
Oh, yes. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, feelings. So from all of this and all of the things that you've been telling us, I think you have also had a calmness come over you and a sense of well-being. So that's really the sense that we got from this. So that's what we extracted. And this is how you break poems down, looking at the rhythm, flow and sound, your purple layer, your red layer and your green layer. And this will make the job of an unseen poem or analysing an unseen poem much, much easier. And shape, Caroline?
Yes, shape is when, this poem isn't in any particular shape. So we decided that it's a bit what we might say is haphazard. And that's how nature is, isn't it? It isn't all sort of smooth, and it's not all like a process in a 1 to 10 kind of steps. I mean, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. And if you look at our seasons right now with climate change and things, actually, I was just reading today, we're experiencing a second spring at the moment. And not that necessarily John Keats was in his poem experiencing a second spring in autumn, but it is still quite a haphazard season. There's lots of things going on all at once as the transition between summer and autumn takes place.
Brilliant. So even if you don't do it now, the poem that you may have brought with you today, take some time after our session to think about the rhythm, flow and sound, the meaning and the feelings and the shape as well. Okay, Caroline.
Right, so now we're going to look in a bit more detail using the 4 question words, what, how, who and why, to help us understand this poem of autumn in a bit more detail. Yeah. So what is the poem about, or what is happening? Who is it happening to, or who is it addressing? So these questions, remember, are generic questions to help you understand any poem. Third question, why? Why do you think it's been written? That might be a very personal experience, a personal response you're going to have. And how is it happening, or how is the message being delivered? And don't forget, we're still thinking about the rhythm, the sound, the flow, or help us understand these questions in a bit more detail and answer them, what we think the meaning and the feelings are that it evokes, and maybe a shape as well that the poem has been written in, or not in this case. Okay, so let's have a look now at answering these 4 questions using the 4 words. What is the theme and what is it about, do we think? So if this was just a sort of introductory question in an exam situation, or maybe you're just thinking about it to help you understand your poem or any poem you're reading, we might say the following. The poem is about what happens to nature during autumn. Who? Sorry,
so these questions are very, very top level. And then when you come into the comprehension, you'll be digging a lot deeper, and you may well be asked to support your answers with evidence. So for us, it's about the what, who, why, and how as a very overarching view of what's going on.
Yeah. Who, from whose point of view is it written? We think the poet is giving his views about what autumn means to him, or maybe what happens in autumn, where he lives, you could have said. Why is it? Sorry, go on. Yep.
I'm sorry, and please feel free to put your own twist on these questions and these answers. So it's not just this is our interpretation of what's going on. You might think something else, and that's absolutely fine as well.
Why is it happening, or why has it been written? Our view is the poet has a love of autumn and wants to express how he feels. If you think about it, in this stanza in particular, he's talking about very positive things, nice things that we enjoy observing, or other parts of our senses, maybe smelling or tasting the sweet fruit, whatever it is, and he wants to express how he feels. So that's our view. How is it happening, and how is the message being delivered? The poet, he describes the vivid colours of nature and its behaviour during this season. Okay,
Brilliant,
so
thank you.
No problem. So now we're going to move on. Oh yeah, so what season, if you could write about a season, what season would you choose and why? Perhaps you could let us know right now in the comments. Maybe you've got another season that you have read about in a poem, and you could recommend some poems to us. Winter. I like writing about winter. I like writing about snow, actually. I've done some good lessons on that. Summer, winter. Somebody's asked actually again, if maybe you joined us a bit late. Shape means how, if the poem is written in the shape of the thing it is describing, basically. Spring, because it's when flowers bloom and it's people's birthdays. Yeah, I love spring. That's my favorite. Summer, thank you. I mean, there's so many things out there. Nature is such a great inspiration for any type of writing.
It really is. We don't even need to break it down into just the seasons, do we? We can pick on an element of weather as well and write a really emotive poem on that as well.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to look at some typical kind of questions you might have in a poetry comprehension. And we're going to hopefully draw on all the things that we've talked about to help us understand and answer these questions. So here are some words that come up in this first stanza. And often we're asked to select the synonym to match two words of similar meaning together. So this is what you need to do for this question. Match the word to its definition. This is a vocabulary question. So you're just looking for matching the word and putting it next to the definition. So we have maturing, conspiring, kernel, gourd, clammy, mellow, o'erbrimmed, the tricky one, cease, and swell. I always say start with the words that you are most secure in first. Don't go for the hardest word and then get worried that you don't know what that means. Start with the word that you think, yeah, I know what that means. Match that to the definition.
Very good. And also looking at the word in context can often help us to find the definition. So don't just look at the word in isolation and then jump straight into the definitions. Return back to the poem, find the word in the poem and read around it. Is there any clue in the sentence it's in, the sentences that came before, the sentences that come after, that might help us with those harder words that we actually don't understand? And there will be a fair few in this one, but it can often happen where you'll be given a more challenging poem with English language that was used many years ago that's not necessarily words that we will use today. But if you do return to the poem, remember, this is here for a reason. Please make sure you're using it. Do not try and remember. These words are here for a reason. Run your eye down the definitions as well. Something like Caroline said will jump out.
And we've already got some really good answers here. People are interacting with us and giving us some feedback. Well done so far, so good. Okay, I think we'll go through them then, shall we, Nicola? So the first one, maturing, means getting older. The second one is over-brimmed. That's, remember in English, when we have a contraction, we put two words together, or maybe we shorten a word because that's how we speak in old English speak. So we've missed out a letter here, same way as if you would if you wrote can't, cannot, for example. So over-brimmed means filled until it's spilling over the top. And the next one is mellow, calm and relaxed. We could say this is quite a mellow poem. The next one is clammy, warm and sweaty. Lovely.
And that's what can happen to our palms sometime. We obviously, we've got clammy palms if we're a bit excited. My palms are a little clammy at the moment as well.
I know. Well, mine would be, except it's pretty cold in my office, so no chance. Okay, next one is gourd, a large fruit with a hard skin. But I often think that could actually be when this fruit is dry as well. Doesn't have to be when there's actually fruit within the skin of it, if that makes sense. Conspiring is secretly planning. Somebody's written here actually, clammy means warm and sweaty because it says summer and summer is hot. Good point, well done. Kernel, a softer, usually edible part of the nut, seed or fruit or stone. Well, loads of people are really interacting now. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it's
well
wonderful.
Done.
Really wonderful. Thank you.
Swell is becomes larger and rounder than usual. And then finally we have cease, which means stop. Okay, so well done, everyone. If you got some of those right, if you made an educated guess and you also got it right, excellent. That's how we all learn, isn't it? Okay, now we're going to move on to the next question.
Sorry, one thing just to add there, Caroline, as well.
Yeah.
If you're unsure, like Caroline say, just have an educated guess. Don't leave any space unanswered. Where you can, fill the gaps in. If you have time at the end, you can come back and take a look at your answers again. And a second look often makes this much easier, because sometimes we don't see things the first time. Sometimes we revisit our questions, then we think, oh, actually, I see the answer here, I'm going to change it. So make sure you do that as well.
Okay, so let's have a look at the next comprehension question type. It's a retrieval question. Retrieve is when you're finding something and you're getting it and you're picking it out of the text, okay? So find one of the things that autumn changes. Use evidence from the text. So we're looking, in fact, Nicola and I were just talking about this. And again, we were like, oh, actually, maybe it means this. So let's have a look at the answer. Autumn grows the fruit. This is shown with the phrase, here's our evidence from the text, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines. So that is autumn secretly working together with summer, how to load, make heavier, and bless, like give as a positive thing, as a blessing, fruit on the vines. So it's growing the fruit. Or we could say, alternative answer, autumn encourages more flowers to grow, and this is illustrated by the phrase set budding more. I don't know about you, but at the moment I have loads of buds on the trees in my garden still, which is quite amazing. Okay,
brilliant. So there's lots of interaction there as well, Caroline, and people just picking out. There's not one answer to this either. As long as you can provide evidence, you're on the right track.
Okay, the next question. The poem uses a range of language to personify autumn. So that's giving human features to something that is not human. Find an example of this and explain its effect. So this is an explanation question. You have to find an example and explain what it does. And here's the answer, or a possible answer. An explanation or an example of personification is close bosom friend of the maturing sun. It tells us more about the close relationship between the season, autumn, and the sun.
So this is a typical point, evidence, explain question. And when you're asked to find an example and explain its effect, we know we've got to make our point, so respond, find that example of personification. We've got to make sure we provide evidence for that as well. And then we've got to back it up with an explanation as well. So we've got three, possibly two, possibly three sentences that you're blending together, making sure that you're using the correct punctuation to introduce your quote as well. So if you found another one, we'd love to hear about it as well.
Okay, next question is, why does the poet use the phrase, the summer had o'erbrimmed their clammy sails? And this is an inference question, so we're working out the hidden meaning.
So we go to the, they've given us a phrase there. So the best thing to do is to go to the poem and find it, which we've done there at the bottom. We've located it. Read what happens before and read on until you find the quote itself.
Right, and the answer is the poet uses this phrase to describe that the summer heat has heavily overlapped with the cooler weather of autumn. So the summer is like flowing over into autumn, if you like. Got lots of answers here, and yes, please do feel free to write answers if you would like to, but there's no obligation. Okay, if you just want to listen, that's absolutely fine, no problem. Okay.
It's wonderful to see the interaction. I think this is what enhances learning as well, is to make sure that you're getting involved, and it will make a great difference to you.
Okay, so, and then finally we have question number 5. Identify 2 rhyming patterns used in this poem. What effect does this technique have on the reader? So this is a mixture of 2 different question types. We've got retrieval, you're finding and giving us an actual example of the rhyming used in this poem. And also, can you explain what it means and the effect on the reader? So this is a typical PEE, point, evidence, explain question.
So let's take a look at an example of a response.
And here's the example. So 2 examples of rhyming patterns are, oh, somebody's put one in here. Well done, Ritesh. Fruitfulness and bless, and sun and run. These add rhythm and flow to the poem, which help us to experience the journey of autumn. And I tried very hard when I was reading this to you to emphasize the rhyming words in the poem. And that's quite hard, actually, when each line is quite long.
So there we go.
And we've got core and more as well. Yes, you're right. Well done.
We have. There's quite a few in there, isn't there?
Loads more. Trees and bees. Loads of people now commenting. Bees and cease. I'm not sure whether I think that's rhyme, but I know what you mean because it's got that similar sort of soft S sound in, hasn't it? And thank you to the person who tried to identify the rhyming pattern. We also tried to do that, Hasnain, A, B, A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, I mean, we were like you were, and well done for trying to do that, because it's quite a challenge, isn't it? There are lots of different rhyming patterns, but it's not A, B, A, B, A, B. It's not that simple, is it? Well done.
Yeah, we have a structure, don't we, at the beginning, and then it all goes haywire. So it's very difficult to pick up the A's and the B's and the C's and the D's. So wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Okay, so thanks everyone for joining us. This is just to let you know a little bit more about the group that Nicola and I run together. It's called Perfecting Primary English, and we give lots of different free advice on this group. So if you ever think, oh, I really don't understand this question, or can you explain this grammar point to me, or have you got any tips for creative writing or anything else that you think to do with English that you're really trying to understand at the moment to help you prepare for an exam, please do get in touch with us. Even if you're not preparing for an exam and you just want to understand more about how English works, we will do our very best to help you.
Just take the opportunity to pick up a poem and read it for pleasure. Sometimes we can do that. I know we're all very much immersed in what we're doing here for the 11 plus, but it's good to take some time out of the whole process, and poetry is a lovely way to do that. So hopefully we have encouraged you to maybe consider poetry as an option rather than picking up a fictional or a non-fiction book. So please do let us know as well whether you have a newfound appreciation for poetry. We'd really appreciate that. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you so much for your interaction. It's made a huge difference to us. So thank you. And thank you again to 11 Plus Journey and Saba, who is a completely wonderful, I have to say. Caroline and I really thoroughly enjoy working with Saba. So thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity once again.
Yes, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. And do let us know about any more things that you need help with. And thank you, Saba, and the 11 Plus Journey. And hopefully we'll see you another time.
Absolutely. And this video will be on the 11 Plus Journey YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen the beginning of it, then please do. Saba will upload it and then you can watch it again. It will always be there to reference as well. So thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.